So the problem with this information technology is that it could lead people to rely on external sources instead of their own memory and understanding. And in fact, while wisdom comes from questioning, challenging, and refining ideas, this technology creates the illusion of knowledge without genuine understanding. And in fact, it's just as good in producing fiction as fact. And I could be talking about ChatGPT or any of the large language models, but I'm not. These words are from Socrates in the 5th century BC. And he's talking about an information technology that we call writing. And why do we know that? It's because his student, Plato, wrote it down. So every new technology since cave art, from writing to smartphones, has faced societal backlash. And AI is no different. Why should it be? And granted, a lot of the criticism that AI has been receiving is for good reason. In fact, it is going to result in better performance, improved governance, and that's going to address some of the risks around errors, bias, privacy concerns. Now, it's not going to be easy, but we can see a pathway for technology and governance to take us in that direction. We've got private companies, government, coalitions working on that. But I believe that generative AI has raised a distinct and different impediment to implementation. After all, AI is not new. We're comfortable using it to choose a movie on Netflix. We're happy to get our cell phones and our computers to give us autocorrect, at least most of the time. But that's because we've always been able to think about intelligence as whatever machines have not done yet. And think about it. When Deep Blue defeated Kasparov, we said that's not intelligence, that's just brute force analytics. Let's see if a computer can beat us at Go. And then when AlphaGo came up with a program that defeated Lee Sedol, we said, well, that's just a machine that learned how to play really well by playing against itself many times. That's not intelligence. But we can't hide behind Tesla's theorem anymore. Not if you've played with ChatGPT or you've used Midjourney or DALL-E to create art. Here's why. We all know about the uncanny valley, right? It's that idea that when robots become more and more human-like in appearance, we find them more appealing to us, but only up to a point. There comes to a point when they're almost human, but not quite, and then they just look eerie. And our survival instinct kicks in, and we lose our trust in the robot. Now think of what's happening with AI now, and generative AI in particular. We have an AI that can engage in a nuanced conversation with you. You have AI that can write complex emails. And you have AI that can come up with dad jokes. Well, bad ones, trust me, I'm an expert. And this one says, why don't scientists trust atoms? Well, because they make up everything. Now, ChatGPT could have been talking about itself, but that's not the problem I'm talking about here. The problem I'm talking about is that when a computer can do this, it's really unsettling. It may not be as visceral as our response to that image, but the AI is treading on territory that we thought belonged to us humans. That creates psychological fear, and I believe that fear is going to be a significant impediment to our being able to gain the benefits of AI in the future. I like to call this the spooky mountain. And it is particularly important in areas such as healthcare that are highly human-centered. So, the AI that we're not afraid of, the Netflix kind, we can use in healthcare. So we use it to read an X-ray. So it's a defined problem. Let's say we've got to figure out or classify mammograms into high risk versus low risk. We can train the model using machine learning on a set of images that either have or don't have abnormalities and are appropriately annotated. So that's pretty simple. And the machine gives us an answer. There's no morality or ethics or anything else built into that answer. And of course, we can have a discussion about the advantages and drawbacks of using an AI in that situation, but that's really about the capabilities and costs. Now, when you move to generative AI, that allows you to use the AI in a completely different type of use case. For example, to role play a difficult conversation between a patient and a doctor. So this is obviously an unstructured problem that requires to be trained on a general model. But more importantly, it's collaborative. And the AI now needs to converse with you in a human-like way. And it's not just about logic. It needs to listen to your emotion, and it needs to mimic emotion and morality in what it gives back to you. That is spooky AI. And we find it threatening. Just imagine that you're the doctor who would have had that conversation. What does it mean? What is your role when a computer can have that conversation for you? If you're a researcher, what's your role if a computer can not only invent but also file the patent? So this is obviously very hard to deal with as humans. But most importantly in healthcare, what if that AI causes harm? So we are risk averse in healthcare, and for very good reason. But because of that, partly because of that, sometimes it can take more than a decade for innovation to find its way into broad routine clinical practice. But health systems around the world today are suffering. We have insufficient capacity to meet the needs of all our patients. We have burned out clinicians, which only makes that capacity problem worse. We have high costs and huge administrative burden, and we have inconsistent quality. AI can help in every one of those places. So we are hurting patients today if we don't figure out a way to accelerate the adoption of AI. And if we can, just imagine a world in which you or your loved ones can gain high quality personalized care from an AI-assisted clinician whenever you need it for as long as you need it, knowing that a doctor can step in, the right doctor can step in at the right time. Imagine that you are that doctor and now you have time to focus on what's most important for your patients, knowing that you have a tireless AI assistant to back you up on your decisions, but also to take care of all the drudgery. Or you're a public health professional and you have the tools to pinpoint population risk and target your interventions to prevent the next pandemic. And I could go on with examples like this, but suffice it to say that in this world, you'd have rapid innovation, dramatically reduced creative burden and therefore costs, and a revitalized education system that's better suited to the needs of tomorrow. But to get there, we really have to change everything and be willing to change everything. So first, we need to redesign our processes. Let's think about where is it that AI can do the same thing differently. By that I mean better, faster, cheaper, and let's modify our processes to do that. But then let's also think about where AI can do different things and design new processes around that. We should also restructure our organizations. Why should our organizations of the future be designed on models that were developed in the 20th century? Let's challenge our ideas around who should be on an executive team. How do we do governance? What is the structure of an organization? Today that's based on legacy, function, and location, which matters less. Let's also think about the role of the individual, the role of a team, and how we collaborate, and how we supervise. I mean, just think about it. Why should we use outdated norms around how many people a manager can manage, so-called span of control, when AI is going to change the very nature of work and output and supervision? So let's question all of that. But it's not enough just to change within organizations. AI is going to affect entire value chains. And if you think about it, the structure of our industries is based on those value chains. And so how sectors within an industry interrelate. So in the case of healthcare, that would be payers, providers, life sciences, and so forth. We need to question those boundaries between the firms and redraw them and think about how these organizations interrelate within an ecosystem. Easy, right? Okay, so change is not easy. And this is going to be really hard on people, particularly because of what I said earlier about the psychological fear of change that all this AI is going to bring. So what do? Well, first, we make sure that we are passionate about effectively communicating the vision at the other end of this. But even as we do that, as we change our processes, organizations, and systems to incorporate AI, we need to dig into that most human of emotions or characteristics, empathy, and infuse our change processes with that. So what do I mean by this? So when I said change processes earlier, I bet a lot of you were thinking efficiency, effectiveness, etc. But no, we have to make sure that our new processes that incorporate AI are transparent and trustworthy. We have to make sure that when we design organizations that use AI, that humans are always in the loop. Actually, not just in the loop, but humans are always in charge, in the driver's seat. And as we redesign our systems, let's pause and think deeply about making sure that they are rooted in purpose. Because only if we do that, can we take people with us and conquer the spooky mountain. Thank you.